Are you ready?
Yeah.
Should we kick straight off?
Hit me.
Okay. We're going to start with Madonna. You must.
Yeah.
Nathan Stucker has a question. Madonna has said that she and Universal have parted ways over her biopic, apparently starring Julia Garner. It seems like a fortune had been put into pre-production, including something called a Madonna-bootcamp. How often do films fall at the final hurdle? Is there a point where productions have to happen because of sunk costs?
Yeah, parted ways is one of those real newspaper words, isn't it? Newspaper phrases. They've parted ways, like when you have to say a manager, you can't say a manager's going to be sacked because you could get sued, so you have to say that on the brink. Okay, yeah, they have 100% parted ways, let's put it that way, Nathan. This is a film about her, co-written by her and directed by her. So
no way.
Yeah, I've got to question the wisdom of Universal's investment in that. What we do know is that the script for the Madonna biopic was, and remember there are a lot of these kind of music biopics, right? They're very successful and there's a kind of big trend for them. The script was, I know it was 3 hours plus. I've talked to various people who were sort of connected or at least know some of the story. There's a lot of fallout stories from this. There was a Madonna bootcamp, yes. She wanted candidates who, for the role, to be able to sort of sing.
For the role as her?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they needed to be able to sing, but they, debatable, but to be able to do the dancing and to be choreographed by her choreographer.
But Julia Garner is a big actor, right? She's from Ozark and
Inventing Anna and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But various people went through this boot camp. Florence Pugh, Odessa Young.
Florence Pugh went through a boot camp.
I know. Bebe Rexha, Sky Ferreira, Alexa Demi, and Julia Garner. And Julia Garner wins. But then in 2023, Madonna's...
In 2023?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You can imagine.
I understand.
Then it's the celebration tour, and that was a big, big thing. So they sort of shelve it. That would have been the moment, I think.
The Rest is Entertainment is presented by Octopus Energy. Now, one of the stranger signs of status in show business is being very, very hard to reach.
Exactly. You get to a certain level in the business where you don't want anyone to talk to you at all. And there are some people who are notoriously difficult to get hold of. So Christopher Nolan, for example, is famously almost completely... It doesn't even have a mobile phone. I mean, you literally cannot get hold of Christopher Nolan. He said, of course he does. He's got a sneaky little mobile, has he?
Yeah.
He's on WhatsApp groups, but he doesn't want you to know that. Shall I tell you who's easy to get hold of?
Who?
Octopus Energy.
Yes.
So Octopus Energy, if you know the score when one of your service providers writes to you, you've got a question for them or you're disputing something, you reply and it immediately says you cannot reply to this email. With Octopus Energy, any email they send you, you can reply to and it will go to your dedicated team, which to me feels like one of the greatest advancements I've heard of the last 30 or 40 years. You can actually reply to people.
Would it be possible to contact the people I'm paying my money to? Well, with Octopus Email, you can reply directly to your own dedicated small team.
I mean, that's amazing, right?
It is now definitely dead. Madonna has given an interview about it in which she said, we had a falling out, me and Universal, regarding budget because I've had an extraordinary life. I've had a huge life, so I needed a big budget. Okay.
All right, guy in a pub.
Yeah, I know. So she
you
said,
wouldn't believe some of the things I've done. You wouldn't believe them.
Yeah. She
honestly, they couldn't. Hollywood, they couldn't make it up.
They couldn't make it up. They need CGI to create this. She said she wanted to. So then she tried to come up with some kind of financial compromise, and she said she was going to move it to Serbia. And Universal said to her, "Well, we don't even believe you to stay in Serbia for 4 days. Sorry." And she says, "Did you read the script? My entire life has been survival. I'm not going there for a holiday." So massive drive-by on Serbia there.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Thank you.
But
anyway,
meanwhile, Serbia's going, for you.
I mean, as I say, we have lots of these relationships in cinema at the moment because there are lots of these biopics, and there are some people who are great. Someone like Bob Dylan who just says, "Do whatever you want." He doesn't regard that a complete unknown necessarily as him or not as him. It's just do what you want.
Yeah, he does his music. Yeah. That's him.
The Beatles are more protective, and I know have been more protective over the surviving Beatles over the 4 Beatles films that are coming out, the Sam Mendes ones. This is such a tight involvement with the performer. She's writing her own story. It's about her. She's directing it, and also she's Madonna. And she's a control freak. That's what's made her great.
Yeah.
I would not say she's a great. She has directed a film before. She's directed 2, I think, but I've only seen one of them. WE, which was about
about
Wallace Simpson.
Yeah.
There's a hilarious line in that where she says, there's some newsreel happening and it says, King George III has died. And it's like, yeah, and I mean, did no one check? That was in 1820. I think maybe you mean somebody else. Anyway, never mind. She is a very, very difficult performer to get into that type of relationship with. It's hard at the best of times. It probably was slightly hard even with Bob Dylan, even though we think that he's got this philosophical thing. In terms of your question, Nathan, is there a point where productions have to happen because of sunk costs? There are definitely points where productions go ahead and do happen because people sort of slightly feel they've been in for a penny and in for a pound.
Yeah, sunk costs, if people don't know that's the money you've already spent. Is it worth spending a bit more money just
I
to
always
protect
think,
the money
no,
you've already
pull
spent?
out.
Yes.
You've got to market it. You've got, no.
Yeah.
And by the way, they hadn't made this film, so you say sunk costs. I mean, I don't know how much Madonna-bootcamp costs. It's probably quite expensive, but it's nothing like having to get the cameras rolling and her not feeling it for the first 3 days.
And also, maybe they were filming that and they can...
maybe it could be a
that's
documentary. Well, we know she's great in behind-the-scenes documentaries, so that would probably be a good use of the money. But I have to say that I don't think there's ever a time in films where that we have got to the point recently where there are certain things, like there was the Batgirl film and there was Acme versus Coyote, although that is going to come out now, where people just thought, it's so expensive to market this thing that we're just going to keep it on the shelf and do nothing with it and use it as a tax write-off. I don't know whether they can tax write off any of this. I don't understand the accounting, but there is always a point at which you can pull out. And I would say before principal photography begins was quite a good moment to choose for this one. I just think it's too difficult. I just think that there's a level of relationship with the performer that is too tight. And in this case, knowing what we know about her, and it is honestly the reason why she is brilliant and amazing and still out there. She's phenomenal. I'm not trying to. I just don't think that's the right person to. You are not the right person to tell your own story.
Yes, it is certainly cheaper to do it now than after 4 days in Serbia.
Just even 4 minutes,
I would say.
Yeah. Question for you, Richard, from Faye Williams, who says, I recently took my daughter to see the Tom and Jerry movie. It was the strangest cinematic experience of my life. I did not know that this was made by a Chinese company, and I have so many questions. Is Tom and Jerry a big deal in China? Was it a commercial success there?
Tom and Jerry is a huge deal in China. It used to be shown on state television. We've spoken before about China and the very strict rules they have on what can and can't be shown. And, they would have looked through Tom and Jerry and seen that there was nothing that could actively harm the party. And so, it used to be on every night on CCTV, I think starting in like 1991. And people loved it. In fact, they loved it so much that the Chinese, as is often their way culturally, they thought, sorry, why are we watching this program about an American cat and American mouse? So the Chinese made their own version of Tom and Jerry, and their version, this is genuinely the title of their version of Tom and Jerry. Their version of Tom and Jerry was called, this was from the mid-90s onwards, it was called The Blue Mouse and the Big-Faced Cat, launched as a rival to Tom and Jerry. You know what? It wasn't really a rival because Tom and Jerry is timeless. Tom and Jerry has endured in China because it hasn't really sort of, got to cause them any trouble. There's now like a big online game of Tom and Jerry, which got 100 million users, which always sounds a lot, but in the context of China, that's it's not that many. So it's huge deal all over Asia. There's Tom and Jerry Singapore movie, so all sorts of things. But the really interesting cartoon character in China is Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, yeah.
Because, in the same way that China has absolutely embraced Tom and Jerry and it's a huge deal, Winnie the Pooh is completely banned in China. I mean, completely banned in China. You can't get an image of Winnie the Pooh. You certainly can't watch like the Christopher Robin movie or anything like that. You'll be aware of why this is, I think. But if people don't know, it's because, in fact, when Xi Jinping met Barack Obama, which is 2013 in the States, a meme started going around with Barack Obama as Tigger and Xi Jinping as Winnie the Pooh. Yeah. There was a suggestion that they had a similarity of look, of build. Yeah. And Xi took this very, very badly. And therefore, when someone takes something badly, more and more and more and more memes started coming up. And lots and lots of satirical things about China, but using Winnie the Pooh. So things that looked basically harmless. But Xi and the rest of the CCP sort of understood what was going on. So Winnie the Pooh is absolutely, you couldn't be more banned in China than Winnie the Pooh is. So Tom and Jerry, they continue their ascent, but Winnie the Pooh is it's essentially just about the most banned thing that's possible to be banned in China, which is some achievement, I would say. Yeah. Oh, this is a question I want to know the answer to as well. Paul Cronin says, I have a question regarding the World Cup coverage on the BBC. Usually, as the second half starts, they have a QR code for a link to get a TV license. They're not quiet about it either, Paul. I'm intrigued to know if you have any data on how many people have used this service during the World Cup.
Okay, this is an answer that I don't even need to have any data on because I'm possessed of sound mind, okay? I would not think that could be meaningfully charted, the level of that sign up, because it is as close to zero, I would have thought, as you could possibly get. I have no idea whose bright idea that one was, but just in terms of the psychology of it, the second half of the football starting, hang on a second, okay, I don't know whose idea this was, but I believe it will be something that can't be charted in terms of sign up.
Is it, though, at least airing culturally the idea that more people should pay their license fee? Is that what I mean, no one's using it, clearly. I mean, that's not... that's
like a sort of nudge unit thing. Okay, maybe.
Like a nudge unit,
maybe that's it.
But no one's actually doing it. But, I mean...
Yeah, I'd have thought it's a short sort of one-word answer, that one, I would have thought.
Yeah. Get Ian Beale to show the QR code halfway through an episode of EastEnders.
Make it a plot line. He has to sign up for a license.
Exactly. And he keeps holding, and he's got a double-sided bit of paper with the QR code on. So while he's looking at it, you are also looking at it as well. And so you can hold your
plot line's so
phone
boring that you can actually think, I tell you what, I don't mind missing this bit. I'll just, that's a possibility.
I have some sympathy, I suppose. These are enormous audiences, and you know, there is this sort of 10% of the population who are watching the BBC and not paying their license fee, and that gap needs to be bridged. But yes,
I don't think this is the way to do it. But yes,
feels like that gap is not being bridged. It feels like, quite the opposite.
Shall we go to a break now?
Yes, shall we? This episode is brought to you by the Lloyds 5K house deposit.
Lloyds are offering a 5K house deposit, which was last seen in 1996. What are your entertainment memories of the 1990s?
I feel guilty talking about the 1990s because you look back and it was such a golden era.
We'd never had it so good, and we didn't even realise because we were young and we just thought we were entitled to it all.
We absolutely took it for granted. Yeah, Britpop was absolutely in its pomp. Oasis playing to 250,000 people. You had Blur
Spice
and
Girls
Suede
and Girl
and Pulp.
Power. I'm so sorry.
Spice Girls. Amazing movies at the cinema, Train Spotting. I mean, it felt a time of absolute optimism, but at the time you just assumed that was the way that
a very
the world was
British
going.
type of optimism.
Yeah, and part of the optimism, of course, is that mortgages were more affordable, and that is what Lloyds is dealing with right now.
Yep, last seen in 1996, Lloyds are now offering 5K deposit mortgages to first-time buyers. Search 5K first-time buyer.
1996 average first-time buyer deposits based on ONS data. Subject to status, your home may be repossessed if you don't keep up repayments. Conditions apply.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Now, this is a very good question.
That was an interesting. You started with okay.
I don't know why I did. Richard. I'm so sorry. I'll tell you what, because I've seen Dylan Stone's question and it slightly set me off on.
Oh, so you're trying to think of an answer. Okay.
Yeah. The UK is currently searching for a new Doctor Who, a new James Bond, and a new Prime Minister. Who could do them all?
Who could do them all? That's I can think of someone who.
There's a lot that can do two.
Yes, there are a lot that can do two, and there's certainly plenty who would say they could do all three.
Oh yeah, who's the triple threat?
I'm thinking Tom Hiddleston would go.
Honestly, my God,
I could take all of those on.
When's that show coming out? I need to get back onto the Time Detective thing. Yes, okay.
So I think it probably has to be an actor who could turn their thoughts to politics, right? Rather than a politician, rather than although Andy Burnham might go, I actually think I probably could do it. I actually think if you look at what I've done to Manchester, if you look at what I've done with the buses, I don't think a TARDIS is that much different.
TARDIS fares cap,
yes.
Therefore I can run the galaxy.
Yeah. I think, however, politicians would not be. And so
okay.
I think it's got to be actors. So it's essentially which actor could play both those parts, and would you trust to run the country as well? Which is
get Callum Turner in.
Almost no one.
Yeah.
I would say. I mean, God bless actors, but it's difficult. Kathy Burke, maybe, who I would sort of trust to run the country. I would trust as a Doctor Who, as a bond.
As a bond,
that's playing against time.
Again, you see, it's just very, very difficult to get the triple threat.
It is. Ross Kemp.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say him, obviously.
Well, because he's my
your
answer to
go-to.
everything.
He's your go-to.
He sort of is. I could see him as Who, for sure. I could see him as an older Bond, possibly. And yeah, you can. He's dipped his toe into politics a number of times. I think he's politically engaged. It's a possibility.
Is this a time for toe dippers? I sort of slightly feel like we really need.
Yeah, I mean, listen. None of these. I'm not suggesting any of these. I'm simply answering a question.
Not suggesting any of these people would do any of these jobs well.
Yeah, I'm just answering a question.
Someone who could be in the middle of the Venn diagram.
I've been set a challenge,
yeah.
And I'm attempting to meet the challenge. I think the name that we can all agree on, probably, certainly the one where you go, okay, due to the advantages of leaving the EU, we are now being allowed to have a Prime Minister who's also Doctor Who and James Bond. This is just something that's been brought in.
Let's start making the benefits work for us.
I think the name that would keep the country on an even keel for the transitional months, which I think would be really, really difficult, of having this Prime Minister who is also Bond and Who. I think the answer, as so often, Danny Dyer. Don't you think?
You know, I didn't know where you were going with it. I thought there's nothing that he could say that I won't find massively offensive, and yet you've plucked it out of the bag. Okay, fine. Yeah. I'm sold. Yeah.
Don't you think?
All right.
Even as I said it, actually, I was thinking Tennant. Because he's already been Who, so we know he can do that. He can do Bond.
Yes.
And it's a different Bond.
Yeah.
But I think it would bring a lot to it. And yeah, he could. I guess he'd be Prime Minister. But
could they not do a job share like when there were two leaders of the Liberal Party, the two Davids? Could they not each do the job share of all of them? So two guys filling three roles.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Why don't you have three people? Why don't you have Andy Burnham as Prime Minister? Why don't you have Callum Turner as James Bond, and why don't you have George Foreacres as Doctor Who? That's actually a much easier idea. Why don't you have three different people?
I think they'll probably go with that in the end.
Yes.
I think not necessarily those personnel choices, but
you never know.
At least a couple of them.
But what if this like a Doctor Who episode, what if this discussion brings this into actually happening, and that one of the crypto billionaires is like, no, I actually do want that to happen now?
I'd love to think that things that we say in this podcast actually manifest themselves in real world outcomes, and I'll try and say something that I want to happen before the end of this show. And
great.
Be real.
I wonder what that would be. I'd love to know. I would genuinely love to know what's right at the front of your brain at the moment as things you'd like to happen.
Right.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
That was a good one, though.
That was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A current question here for you from Rosie Norton. Thank you, Rosie. Rosie says, I'm intrigued by social media vetting and how it actually works. I noticed the BBC dropped a documentary recently because of the host, who I have to confess I hadn't heard of. That's Ashley Kane, because of his past social media comments. The BBC said in their statement that the vetting process had failed and that it's the production company's responsibility to carry this out. What does the process actually entail? Is it done by a human or AI? And does everyone get vetted before appearing on TV?
Well, yeah, vetting is a big thing. Just for people who don't know the story, Ashley Kane is a sort of BBC presenter. He did various documentaries. I think they thought that he could reach disenfranchised young men, etc.
Yeah, he's got a sort of a rugged manosphere vibe about him.
And he's got a social media history, as it turns out, where he's called women slags and sluts and bitches and various other things. And you often there've been apprentice candidates where they find that 10 years ago they said something, whatever. And they always naked produce that and they say, oh, it's the production company, they've failed. Vetting in general is quite interesting. There are various different levels of sophistication, like anything. Nothing's perfect. It can obviously be done by AI, but it just depends how deeply and how much, to be honest, how much money you want to spend on it. The BBC do have a social media vetting process. Everyone gets DBS checked, disclosure barring service, like if there's any reason why you haven't been able to work in certain things, or you've whatever it is, and you get your social media. This is the BBC's vetting process, and you get your social media checked by a sort of third party firm, because obviously these things are business risks. I mean, having to pull a documentary is expensive.
Yes.
But we know that even with really expensive things, companies just don't do it. I mean, remember the star of Emilia Perez, Carla Sofia Gascon, she had no social media, that no one had seemed to have gone over her old social media. And that was complete amateur hour vetting by Netflix's movie side, and it completely derailed the Oscar campaign, everything. We talked about it on the show. The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. By the way, the star of that, Taylor Frankie Paul, the breakout star of that, was found to have had this kind of domestic violence arrest. She is the star of a whole season of The Bachelorette, which they shelved. But by the way, I've noticed. Have you seen that? I think they're going to find a way of bringing that back next to us. We always felt like they've got an entire series, Disney, of The Bachelorette sitting there waiting to air. They're going to just wait till it's died down and put it out. But as I say, it's very, very expensive. There are different types of vetting. Of psych test, really. A lot of people who produce certain types of reality shows will say, oh, I mean, the top courses that you'd really want all fail the psych test. There are different evaluations, clearly, if it's a show about business or if it's a show where they might involve hooking up with other people, then you have different things. You can go out as far as you like. You can go out, sometimes they even do family members, because just saying, it can really get a show into sort of trouble. I mean, we hear a lot about it in politics. You know, why didn't Reform, who have obviously in all their iterations as Brexit and UKIP and everything had problems with candidates, why did they not properly vet the social media of their Makerfield candidate, who was this plumber who said all these things like, yeah, I'm a sexist and I don't care, and all these, which cost them hugely.
Sorry, but the question is, can you be here on Tuesday afternoon?
Yeah, can you? But I will say that the guy that we got to be the British ambassador to the United States of America failed his vetting and still got the job. And I can absolutely promise you that given what we knew and what was in the public domain, Peter Mandelson would not have got hired as an apprentice candidate.
No.
For whatever reason, but he would have failed that BBC vetting and he wouldn't have been on for that show. Although, you know, the BBC take a lot of stick for everything because that's the nature of it. But let me tell you that Peter Mandelson would never have been, he would not have cleared the vetting for The Apprentice because of the Epstein connection. And they would have found it out because enough of it was in the public domain and it just wouldn't have happened.
However, he probably would be able to get on Celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
That'd be a good booking.
Yeah.
I'm a celebrity. Mandelson. How much money do you reckon he's got, Mandelson?
Well, he has some quite interesting years, if I can put it that way, between the various.
Enough to last him?
I would have thought so, yeah. I don't really know how much further I can go on that. But I mean,
if you're on a celebrity, you'd definitely be making the call.
Yes, although I think I think they've really pulled out celebrity of politicians now.
But he's not a politician anymore.
No, but I think
he's
that people would
citizen.
think I just think the blowback to them is too great.
Yeah.
But yes, so we're going to see lots and more about vetting because the fracturing of the party system as we used to know it means that there will be so many different candidates being fielded, and lots of them will fail their vetting and lots of them will get through and then we'll discover far too late the things that they have said. But yeah, I would say television is better than most people at doing this, certainly better than politics. The beautifully named Honey Clark, Richard, has a question for you. After the success of the film Project Hail Mary, there'd been talk of Andy Weir writing a sequel to the book, and I presume there will be a film sequel too. Have any other authors written a book sequel after a film adaptation has been a hit? And have those sequels been any good?
Gosh, the very best example of it, I would say, and it was going to be made a film as well, but by the way, Project Hail Mary, I mean 100%. I mean, Andy Weir sells millions of copies. He sold millions before this had come out, and his other books do as well. So that will be, he will write it. There'll be, you know, an amazing movie of it as well. But it's like Game of Thrones, where there comes a point where, because sometimes books take longer to write than films, that you slightly get out of sync. And
he'll never finish Game of Thrones though, and I don't care.
But the best one was when a film comes out of a book that wasn't enormously successful in the first place is a really interesting time. So Forrest Gump is based on a book, by Winston Groom, which was a perfectly, you know, successful book, but the movie was beyond enormous. I mean, it was a huge thing. So Winston Groom immediately thinks, well, I'm going to write a sequel to Forrest Gump, because, I mean, you would. I mean, any author would tell you if there's an audience out there for something. And he created this character who he loved, and, you know, you've got this interesting kind of dynamic. So, you know, immediately, of course, he's going to write another book, and of course, they're going to make a movie of that. So Winston Groom writes Forrest Gump 2. The first book was out in 86, and the movie was 94. So Groom publishes a sequel called Gump and Co. And in Gump and Co., in the sequel, Forrest invents new Coke. He meets Ayatollah Khomeini. Yeah.
Wow.
He meets Tom Hanks, who was filming Big. So he meets the guy who played him in the movie Although he doesn't know that he.
Well, this is meta.
I know, it's really meta. He causes the downfall of the Berlin Wall, and he captures Saddam Hussein while deployed in the Gulf War. So there's a lot going on in that book. And
in Gulf War 1 he captures him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. That's listen.
That's an alternative timeline.
It's Forrest Gump. That's what he does.
It is certainly an alternative timeline. Yeah.
So Paramount eagerly, of course, greenlight a movie adaptation of Gump and Co. I mean, they will do their own version of it. It's my thinking. Eric Roth turns in the script. Talk about Forrest Gump. And, he's always there when the big events of history happened. He turns in the script on the 10th of September 2001, the day before September 11th, 24 hours before the Twin Towers are attacked. Tom Hanks, Zemeckis and Roth, they collectively agree that this tragic comedy about a simple man blundering through American history had no meaning anymore, is what they said.
I mean, so I have to say that day it was, whilst an awful sort of national tragedy, within the absolutely desperate and cynical entertainment industry was an excuse to say no to so many things. They hadn't quite found the words to say, this is going to be a disaster, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
It was just able to, everything's changed now. Everything's changed, and unfortunately, we can no longer proceed with the project.
So we cannot do your reality
TV show. It's the easiest day, and we can't be doing this anymore. I'm afraid because reasons.
Yeah, because reasons. So that's a perfect example of it, and would have fed into Forrest Gump 2. I imagine there would have been a Forrest Gump 3. But as the writer, of course, if you've got a big hit movie, you're immediately going to do a sequel.
That is us for today. I kind of really recommend Richard's series on the World Cup of US sitcoms, which you can listen to for free on our timeline right now.
Exactly. From next week, it is for members only, I'm afraid. We've also done the World Cup of British bands, the World Cup of British quiz shows
as well. Oh my God, that must have been blood on the floor for that one.
They are, they're really, really was. If you want to become a member, get access to those and to get ad-free listening, etc., etc., it is therestersentertainment.com. If you go and visit there, you can become a member. You do not have to, of course. We will be here twice a week regardless. Talking of which, see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.